Hi Virgo, welcome to your reading. If you're new to the channel, I do timeless readings, which means that whenever you find this video is when you're meant to hear the messages within it. I'm gonna go ahead and take these two cards, put them like this. But I do timeless readings, which means that whenever you find this video is when you're meant to hear the messages within it. And in case you subscribe, I upload many videos for Virgo and Pisces on Saturdays. Also, the deck that I'm using today is called the Tattoo Tarot. And as always, if you guys are interested in getting a personal reading, the link is in the description. And just as a heads up, sometimes the cards like to flip over in the deck. I do see them, however, I only take the cards that jump out like these ones have. And my goal here is to get you guys roughly 8 or 9 cards. Sometimes when the cards fall out in a group that's too big, I'll just go ahead and put them back. And let me just pick up that last card, and we can get started on your reading. All right, Virgo, so I do want to take this moment to remind you guys that in case you like the reading or if it really resonates for you, the best way to let me know is by leaving a like or a comment. But your overall energy here is the Magician. And the Magician is phenomenal energy to have as your overall because it tells us that you're now in a position where you can really manifest whatever you want. Right, so the Magician is a natural born manifester. He's taken the time to really master all 4 elements, that being the pages, or rather the pentacles, the swords, the cups, and the wands. So he's able to use all 4 of those elements to create the things that he wants. I feel like right now, the name of the game is, if you can dream it, it can happen, and that's very powerful energy for you to be in. But sort of looking on at your reading over here, we have the 7 of Wands with the 3 of Wands in reverse, which is very interesting to me because the 3 of Wands is very similar energy to the Magician, right? It's a card about having taken action and now you're waiting to see what the results of your action are. So because there's like this little dissonance here, it almost feels as if like your manifestation now is going to come more through inaction than it is action, right? Because I'm looking even further along and I'm seeing this 4 of Swords, and that's a card that I've had in a lot of your readings, Virgo, and I think it's because you guys have the habit of working yourselves to the bone. But if you're working yourself to the bone, then you can't do anything after, right? So there's got to be a balance that you can strike up between, you know, working and your passions and whatever it is that you're interested in versus taking care of yourself and relaxing when you need to and taking the time to recuperate, right? And I feel like that's why you have the 7 of Wands, because the 7 of Wands is the worth fighting for card. And I feel like it's saying that you are indeed worth it. But the issue is that even though you know that you're worth taking the time for yourself to rest, it's not always possible, or you prioritize other things and you put yourself second, and that puts you very stressed out, very painful, not pleasant energy. And I see that because you have sort of this Strength card that's saying like endure it, deal with it, and then you have the Moon card and the 10 of Wands, so it almost feels like everyone's kind of putting all of their burdens on you with this 10 of Wands. And I feel like with this Moon card, because the Moon card talks about subconscious and secrets and delusions, I feel like people are doing this not out of spite or on purpose, but they're doing it kind of because of the opposite, to be honest. They know that you're reliable and they know that you can do things. So it almost makes other people around you complacent in a way. So I feel like now is a very important time for you to really sit down and have a talk with people and set what your boundaries are. Because, you know, we all want to be superhuman and we all want to do 1,000,001 things, but sometimes that's not always possible. And people come and expect more of us, and that's what I'm getting for you, is that people are sort of expecting this out of you. And there's sort of like that pride component involved here. But, you know, don't let that stop you from taking time for yourself and resting, right? Because I feel like even like at work, you're always the first person that they call if there's like somebody who didn't show up, or if there's overtime or whatever, and like that's nice and that's really flattering, but like you also need to rest. That's what vacation days and that's what days off are for, is so that you can rest and recuperate and come back, right? So I feel like even though you have all this powerful energy, like the Magician and the Strength card, like you need to take a step back and sort of manifest from the couch, if that makes sense. So I feel like there's a lot of things that you can delegate right now, and there's a lot of things that you can get done without having to be like 100% in there in the trenches, right? And I feel like that's going to be vital to your success, because you've really sort of taken this approach where you're like putting yourself on the line so much, and it can't be good for you. And even though you have the Strength card, I feel like this is saying more like have the inner strength to focus on yourself, not like sort of that toxic mentality where it's like, oh, all you need to do is work and go back to work and work more, right? And I feel like obviously for some of you it'll be work and it'll be sort of like your career, but for others of you, you need to look a little bit harder and be a little bit more creative to find out what this sort of work element is in your life. Because I'm getting it, for some of you, it might be family responsibilities. You might have too much to do around the house, and it's sort of like your expectation and people around you become complacent, like I was saying earlier. For others of you, it might have to do with like your friendships, like you're going on a big trip or something and everybody tells you to plan everything and you're sort of the person in charge, and that's nice and that's flattering, but like take the time to rest. Like that's the big message that I'm getting here. Like, even though you can do all these things and you can and like you have all this power to make things happen, if you constantly drain yourself, you're not going to have enough power to do the things that you want to do and the things that are important to you, right? And I feel like just looking here at the Knight of Swords here and the Seven of Cups is that together that's almost a very painful kind of a message, because you have the Seven of Cups, right? And the Seven of Cups is fantasy, and the fact that it's in the reverse leads me to believe that it's not so much like daydreaming or anything like that, but it's like you taking a step back and really thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do it and how much you can do, but in a very realistic way. You don't have your head up on the you don't have your heads up in the clouds. You have your feet firmly planted on the ground, right? And I feel like with this Knight of Swords energy, I feel like you've really had enough, because the Knight of Swords is a message, right? And the swords cut. They're very cutting, and they can pierce and stab people. So be careful how you deliver your message, because you know you want to maintain the relationships and you don't want to burn any of your bridges that you've worked so painstakingly to make with all this work and effort. But you also don't want to go and let them sort of or continue to be in these unequal give and take situations, right? But like I was saying, the Knight of Swords cut and pierce, and the fact that it's in reverse sort of highlights that even more immature aspect of the Knights. So the immaturity of the Knights comes from emotions, right? They're very intellectual. They like to sort of analyze away their emotions, and they don't really feel like other people might. So the fact that it's in reverse almost leads me to believe that you might be so fed up with people, like almost like taking advantage for some of you in more dramatic situations, that you like go and you kind of say things that you don't really mean, and you know you're very critical and very sort of like attack people with your words. And I don't think that that's the goal that you want to get here. You want to maintain your relationships, like I said. So focus on two things: on how you can establish your boundaries in a way that makes them not only accepted but also like conductive to more work, and also what those boundaries are. So like, how much work can you realistically give before you start to burn out, and how can you explain that to people in a way that doesn't make them feel like they want to fight with you and they want to end your friendships and your relationships or whatever. And most of all, get some rest, Virgo. Get some rest. But that was your reading first time around. If you enjoyed, please leave a like or a comment, because it really helps out the channel, and I personally really love to know if these readings resonate with you guys. But like I said before, I upload my new videos for Virgo on Saturdays. But in the meantime, you guys are more than welcome to watch any of my other Thomas readings that I have up on the channel. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys next time for your next reading.